Good evening, everybody. I'd like to open this meeting on August 19th at 5:32 p.m. Is Robert Parkhurst on with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, council member. Would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, would you all please stand if you're able? And ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to
the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looks like the lag is not too bad right now. For my inspiration tonight, I've been thinking a lot about natural resources. I am not there tonight because I am in the process of visiting more than a dozen different compost facilities from California's southern border to nearly Mount Shasta. And in doing these, I've been thinking about our city and our forward-thinking use of natural resources with our settlement basins, the solar panels, the Mount Wilson Trail. We really are at the intersection of environmental awareness. Seen how different communities deal with their organic wastes, how they take these wastes and recycle them into precious resources. Compost that is used in home gardens, agricultural fields, golf courses, and schools. It is one of the ways in which our waste can be directly recycled right back into our communities. The additional benefit of keeping organic materials out of the landfill is that it eliminates the generation of methane, a greenhouse gas nearly 90 times more potent than carbon dioxide. To keep the average temperature from continuing to rise year after year, it's critical that we keep this waste out of our landfills. So I'd like to encourage everyone to continue to take their organic waste, whether it is their yard waste or food waste, and put it in their green bin. Those materials are some of the most recyclable and reusable wastes that we generate. Believe me, I've seen it from nearly one end of the state to another. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, may I please have you do the roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Mayor Christine Lowe.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss.
Here.
Councilmember Edward Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly Creeps.
Here.
And Councilmember Robert Parkhurst.
Thank you.
We have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Do we have any supplemental information from the city clerk regarding agenda items?
There is no additional information from the city clerk's office, ma'am.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment for items? Oh, let's see. Public comments for items not on the agenda, correct? Not on the agenda. Okay. Are there any public comment for items not on the agenda? Madam Clerk, did we have any emails for public comment on items not on the agenda?
Madam Mayor, there was one email that was received for items not on the agenda from Lynn Coleman. That email was forwarded to the City Council in advance of this meeting.
All right. Let's dive right in. Discussion item A, resolution number 26-82, canceling the November 3rd, 2026 general municipal election and appointing nominees to the City Council.
Madam Mayor, I have the honor of presenting that report this evening. The City Clerk's office advertised the nomination period for candidates running for the office of City Council at the November 3rd general municipal election. That nomination period opened in July 13th and closed on August 7th. At the conclusion of that nomination period, 3 packets for nomination papers were received for the 3 vacant seats. The packets were received from incumbent Chris Lowe, from Jeff Woods, and from Thomas S. Dennison. The City Clerk's office is recommending that the election pursuant to California Elections Code 10229 be canceled and that the nominees be appointed to the seats of the City Council effective November 3rd as if they had been elected at that election. The cost savings for this action would be just over $60,000. The city clerk's office budgeted $65,000 for this election in the approved fiscal year 26-27 budget. There are some nominal expenses that have occurred to this point, but it would only amount to probably $1,000 or less at this point. And so the city clerk's office is recommending that that the city cancel the election and have a savings of, for the remaining balance of about $64,000.
Thank you. It seems like there must be an Amber Alert going out. Are there any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Please.
Some questions. So, closed on the 7th, the nomination period?
That is correct.
That was a Friday, correct?
Correct. That was a Friday.
And so you gave until the end of the day?
It was, the deadline for that was noon on Friday, August 7th. All interested parties who pulled papers were notified, and the candidates, and the deadline was posted on the cover page of the candidate booklet, so they were aware of the deadline. There were 4 members who are members of the voting public that pulled papers. Only 3 of them submitted the papers. There were 2 additional calls for interest, but they did not choose to pull papers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And then, so we have a weekend, and then the 10th would be the Monday of the next week. Madam Clerk, did you poll the council to see if we could hold a special meeting during that interim, or during the time?
The city council was polled for availability to hold a special meeting to make the determination of whether or not the meeting could be canceled, and for that discussion. A resolution is due to the county clerk's office by the 75th day prior to the election, which would make that tomorrow. So the city council was notified on Wednesday of last week, and the soonest that we could hold a meeting was today, Wednesday the 19th. The deadline is tomorrow to submit to the county the city council's intent to hold the election or not hold the election in November.
So, and I think you even offered a date last week, which I was out of town because we were on hiatus anyhow, and I think some others may have been out of town. So we probably couldn't have had this meeting earlier than today anyhow. Is that correct?
The requirements for noticing for a special meeting are 24 hours, and so on Wednesday, when no one else had expressed interest for filing nomination papers, I made the contact with the city council to see how soon we could get a quorum to meet, and the dates that were provided were 24 hours from Wednesday. So beginning Thursday, the options were provided. Unfortunately, we weren't able to obtain a quorum until today. And so in an effort to keep, because it was such a short period, in an effort to keep it and notify the public as often as possible, we made significant efforts to post it in the newspaper, to post it on social media, our city social media platforms, as well as the city's website.
And Madam City Clerk, you were able to notify the public, in fact, in a time frame greater than 24 hours, is that correct?
That is correct. The requirement is 24 hours. The agenda was posted on Monday of this week, but the publication was posted in the newspaper on Saturday, and the notice was posted on the Friday before. So there were avenues for the public to be noticed prior to the agenda report being issued and the agenda being issued on Monday.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I think that's all the questions I have.
Has the city previously taken action to this effect when there was a situation similar to having, only the number of candidates for the number of open seats?
The city has had instances where we have had council members incumbents run unopposed. However, we were not able to cancel those meetings because we had ballot measures on those ballots as well. So we were able to hold those elections even though they ran unopposed. Well, we've had it with other elected officials like city clerk and city treasurer at the time who ran unopposed, and we still continued those contests because of we had other measures or we had something else on the ballot. In this case, we have no other ballot measures and we have no other contests except for the city council. So the city clerk's office checked and nothing in recent history. We looked back 20 years and we have not had action recommended to cancel a council meeting.
Thank you.
I do have another question. It's okay. So thinking about the last presidential general election, I think we had 2 incumbents that were running unopposed. We also had the city treasurer that no one pulled nomination papers for, but someone was a qualified write-in. I did a little research and I went back to the county, and the qualified write-in numbers weren't even allocated in the actual county clerk's office. So how does that work with a write-in, and who counts those, and why weren't those even reported out when our treasurer, Sue Spears, because I know I wrote her in.
Yeah, so a write-in candidate has to go through the same steps that a non-write-in candidate, if you were, or printed candidate goes through. The difference between a write-in candidate and a printed candidate is the candidates who submit their documentation or nomination papers before the deadline have their names printed on the ballot and on the voter information guide. For candidates who miss that deadline, there is a nomination period for write-in candidates. And so they're able to run as a write-in candidate, but in doing so, they have to tell the voters to write their name in. And that's what City Treasurer Sue Spears did. She had a very few number of votes for her, but it only took 1 because there was nobody else running.
I know in the last decade, we did have a write-in candidate for city council. In your history, how many have we had, and has one ever won?
So I've been here almost 20 years. In the time that I've been here, the only time I remember recall a write-in candidate was Barry Gold, and he was not successful in the contest.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that in terms of the write-in candidate, my understanding was that there, like you said, is there still is some process by which you establish your write-in candidacy, correct? I mean, some sort of registration with the
Yeah.
city, et cetera?
It's a little bit of a misnomer. A lot of people think that they could just go into the voting polls and write somebody's name in, but in actuality, the write-in candidate has to go through the same exact steps. They have to get the nomination, fill out the nomination papers, fill out the ballot forms, and everything is the same. The only difference is they did not submit their paperwork before the print deadline that the printer requires to get their name printed in the ballot. So it's really the same process. It's just not, they just didn't get printed in the ballot. So you have to write their name in.
And is there a deadline to do that?
There is a nomination period for that, and it begins in September and ends in October.
Thank you.
Did you have another question?
Yeah, I did. Just for edification of the public, you're using a term nomination.
Yes.
And I think there might be confusion that the council may have nominated some people or anything like that with the public. I just think for
Yeah.
education of the public, can you define what a
Sure.
nomination is?
Yeah, the nominations come from the voters, and the candidate or the prospective candidate circulates a petition to have him or her nominated to serve on the city council or to run for the contest for an elected office. The nomination papers are part of the candidate packet that they pick up from the city clerk's office. The city clerk goes over the process of completing the packet. There are a number of other documents that need to be completed in addition to the nomination papers, but the nomination paper is what the voters complete and sign. It's a petition, to put it in layman's terms. It's a petition that the voters sign to nominate the individual to run for city council or an elected office.
So the nomination is getting signatures from people who are allowed to vote within that jurisdiction to then be put on the ballot.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I interpret it as the list of how many signatures is basically those people nominating, affirming their nomination of this candidate.
Yeah, they're supporting the person to run for elected office.
Councilmember Parkhurst, you had questions?
Madam Mayor?
Please.
So my question is to take it a step further. So if we were to cancel the election, historically we have chosen mayor and mayor pro tem based on the number of votes, the most number of votes the person's had in the oldest election. So if we cancel the election, we'd have to change that process. Has there ever been a process of selecting a mayor and a mayor pro tem that didn't rely on the number of votes in the prior election? And what was that process?
So there is, there isn't a formal written rule that says that the mayor or mayor pro tem has to be based on votes. That is a method that was selected by the city council as considered as fair, a fair way to handle the rotation. But there have been instances in past reorganizations where the next council member in line either was not appointed or nominated or declined their turn to be the mayor or mayor pro tem.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I'd like to open this up for public comment at this time.
We have a number of members in the audience, Madam Mayor, but I do not have any speaker cards submitted. Perhaps someone would like to approach?
Do our candidates prefer to have a statement? Okay, and just a reminder, this is only being televised, by the way, on YouTube right now. It's not on our channel, correct?
It's on Channel 3, ma'am.
Okay, because right now, I guess it's a rerun of a planning commission meeting right now on Channel 3. So
Oh.
I wasn't sure if that was intentional or if that was, yeah, it's a rerun of a planning commission meeting, so they can actually see Chair Dennison speaking.
Actually see one of the candidates.
Yes. All right. Was there any public comment that was mailed in or emailed in?
Madam Mayor, there were 3 emails that were received in advance of this meeting. They were forwarded to the City Council. The emails were from David Link, Deb Sheridan, and Robert Stockley.
All right. Is there any discussion?
I actually have one question I didn't
sure.
ask, I'm sorry. The budget amount that you referenced in the staff report of approximately $60,000 for, in cost savings for not having to pay the election, do you mind just going through what that cost is? I think people might be surprised to know that holding an election costs the city that, because, you know, obviously it's run by the county, and I don't think people in the public
Yeah.
sometimes always understand that we actually have to pay the fees associated with that.
So thank you for that question and the opportunity to clarify. There are a number of factors that go into the estimate. A lot of it has to do, is a cost-sharing formula, and a lot of it has to do with how many agencies are on the ballot. So in an election where you have the state and the federal government, it's going to always be a little bit less to the city, because we're sharing that cost throughout the entire state and in some cases, the federal government, if it were a presidential, for example. In those cases, like we're having this year, our cost is about $65,000 estimated. In years where we don't have presidential or where there is a smaller pool of participants in the election, then the cost then has to be split more amongst the remaining agencies, and you'll see the change in elections. So from election to election, you'll have different costs, but the work is the same. It's just that you have less partners that you're sharing the cost with. And so in this case, really the election cycle is about 4 to 6 months, where you have the city clerk's office is working with the county clerk's office to get resolutions in, to get candidate statements in, to get the nomination forms verified and checked to make sure that the registrations are valid. I've had the opportunity to sit at the county clerk's office and watch as they verify the signatures. They pull up the signature and they compare it with what's on the signature of the nomination paper. And it's works pretty quickly if you have someone who's doing it all day long, but that's a process. There are lots of divisions on many, many floors at the county clerk's office, and each division does something different. But it's very quickly, once you hit July, August, September, it moves very quickly because of printing deadlines. And so the city clerk's office is working with multiple departments to get them all the information they need. Are we going to have a ballot measure? What is the ballot measure? Is there an impartial analysis from the city attorney's office? Is there a candidate statement? What is their form, FPPC forms? And so all of those steps require a number of different divisions and departments, including our staff here at City Hall, to get those documents and submit them. And then there are edits. And so there's a lot of back and forth where there's proofreading to ensure that there's accuracy.
But the $60,000 is a third-party cost, is the cost that we would have to pay the county for our allocation of the overall election cost. That doesn't include your time or other staff time. This is not recovering any sort of internal time. This
Right.
is actually a check we would have to pay, out to the county.
Yes.
And then I assume the cost also covers staffing of the voting centers during the voting period?
It covers the entire cost, including the postage, including the printing, including the vote poll workers, and any of the payments to the vote sites.
So that actually raises another question, I'm sorry. If we don't have our own local election and we don't pay our portion of the cost, do we then not have local election centers in Sierra Madre? Because obviously there's going to be other things that our citizens can vote on outside of the city. Does that mean that those vote centers will be somewhere else outside the city?
No, actually, Los Angeles County requires that there is at least one vote center in every city. So because of our limited availability for sites, Sierra Madre has a 4-day vote center as opposed to a 10-day vote center. Some areas, like for example, Arcadia, they have larger sites and they can hold 10-day vote centers. And that allows our residents to go down the hill and vote. But if they want to vote in town, they have 4 days leading up to the election.
And we don't have to pay for that?
And we would not have to pay for that. However, the cost sharing, because we're coming out of the election, would more than likely increase a fraction for the other agencies because they would have to split that cost.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have one more procedural question. I think it's probably for the city attorney. And I mean no disrespect here, but since Madam Mayor is one of the candidates, should she abstain or recuse for this process?
So there is no legal requirement here to recuse. It's going to be completely up to the mayor if she'd like to. This isn't, financial conflict, so Political Reform Act 1090 don't apply. And
Probably a
this-
financial detriment. Serving on this usually costs us more than we can. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, is there any more discussion?
Oh, discussion. Yeah, I'm sure there's discussion.
Sorry.
That was- I had
You can
questions.
discuss
With
and
questions.
ask questions.
I'll just say, it's just bottom line to me. I, as a first-time candidate, I would appreciate and enjoy my name being on the ballot. I did that, when I was a candidate, so I do feel for that, and I do think that there is value in the community seeing that on the ballot and seeing the names of the council. Obviously, people who follow the council saw the announcement, are probably listening to the meeting, might watch the meeting later, but that's obviously a much smaller group of people than vote. So, there is a downside to this, certainly, and so I don't make light of that because there will be fewer people that will know who our city council folks are because that was one avenue of communicating that will not happen if we vote this way. On the other hand, none of that, in my mind, personally, is worth $60,000, given all of the other budgetary needs that we have. I did the math. It would pay for about 200 and something feet of a water main replacement, which is probably not that useful, but would pay for other things that, folks, potholes and things that we are constantly getting requests for and don't have sufficient room in our budget for it. And in fact, we're actually in a deficit, so every $60,000 that we don't spend is, reduces that deficit. So, I do understand that there's a trade-off, but to me, ultimately, the fiscally responsible thing is more important than the downsides.
Yeah, just a few things, kind of to echo what Councilmember Krebs mentioned. Putting it in other words, right? An entry-level maintenance worker for the city of Sierra Madre is $47,257. So a $65,000 charge is more than an entry-level year-round full-time worker. Dispatcher, public safety, is $60,884. So the $65,000 is not insignificant, even though a public commenter email said it's some insignificant amount. Again, but I don't take it lightly either. I'll just say to the candidates, there is a huge benefit to campaigning, hearing from the public what their wants and needs and what they like, what they don't like. But at the end of the day, if we only have 3 candidates, there's no campaigning that would be going on. So I do have a little chink in my mind saying, we should keep it open for a write-in candidate. But those are few and far between. They tend to be grassroots. You don't get a lot of name recognition out there, and I don't even know that there would be time for a candidates forum for when that write-in portal opens to then have some type of dialogue. I would like to see other than the Madam Mayor, because most of the community know you from being on the council the last 4 years, but personally, I would like to see at least the 2 other candidates maybe have some kind of forum, get to know the candidates if we vote to then forego this, because I think it'd be a benefit for the candidates to hear from the public what the concerns are.
The chamber will be holding a panel on September 16th, where you can meet the candidates or the new council members. And just to follow up with that, just for those of you who out in the public that do not know these candidates, you probably do know these candidates. Jeff Woods, I know him personally because I was a teacher with him for Glendale Unified for at least 12 years. He retired from Glendale Unified. He's the president of our Rotary Club here in Sierra Madre. He's the vice chair of the Community Services Commission. He's been on the Pasadena Education Foundation, helped with the Helping Hands Food Pantry. He's an active member of St. Rita's Church, and you can find him at many of our meetings. And then the other nominee, Thomas Dennison, was on the Sierra Madre Volunteer Fire Department as a captain with myself. He's now the chair of the Planning Commission, and he has been. He's been on the Planning Commission since 2017. He's also the chair of the city's Ad Hoc Revenue Committee, director of Sierra Madre Community Foundation in his past, AYSO Regional 2, just recently past president, and his wife was been on the Library Foundation, Dawn Dennison, so you probably have seen their families around town. Just wanted to give those little shout outs.
I don't have a whole lot more to add to what my colleagues have said, but I do want to point out something that when I think of democracy, I think of lots of things, but I think of process. I think what sets democracies apart is that we have processes we follow. And when we don't follow those processes, that's when I think we have the biggest problem of trust with the public. And we have followed a process here to the letter. Our city clerk has done a professional job at seeking the right legal advice and making all the right decisions about how to handle this matter. And so I feel like I feel very confident that this is a correct move for us from a democratic point of view. It's kind of a sad thing that we couldn't get more citizens interested in running for office here in Sierra Madre. But on the other hand, it might be a good thing. It may be that a lot of people are content and maybe they're not too concerned about shaking things up. I'm not sure. That could go either way, but I'm very confident that $60,000 is something I want to save the city after all these discussions we've had over budgetary issues this year. All the criticism sometimes we receive over spending money. I think this is a good example of where we can just save some money and actually do something positive with this outcome. So I will support this.
And we'll have an election in 2 more years?
Yeah.
Councilmember Parkhurst, did you have any discussion input items? Maybe we lost Parkhurst. Still there. All right.
I am trying to speak, and can you hear me?
There you
Yes,
are.
we can now hear you.
All right. I'm going to try one more time. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. Thank you all. My apologies. I thought I had a stronger connection here. I think this is a challenging issue, and I appreciate all the dialogue that we've had on it. My leaning is towards keeping an election. I think it's one of the fundamental things in our democracy that we need. Even if it is okay. Even if it is a set of choices that are set forward, that are already set, I think it gives us a way to understand who's going to be the next mayor. I also think on previous elections where we've had judges and there's only one candidate, we go ahead and vote for that person anyway. So I'm kind of in the camp of having the election. I recognize the financial part of it is really important. We are in a deficit, as a number of folks have said, and I don't take that lightly. But I think in this case, I would err on the side of actually holding the election.
All right, let's go ahead and move this towards a vote. All those in favor?
Be a roll call?
Oh,
We need a motion and
Sorry.
then probably a roll call as
Motion
well.
You're
and
right.
a roll call, yeah.
Motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we support resolution number 26-82, canceling the November 3rd, 2026 general municipal election and appointing nominees to the city council.
Second.
Do we need to do a voice vote?
Roll call.
Or,
Roll
that's what I
call,
meant.
okay.
I meant a roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Krebs, your vote?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Goss,
Aye.
Mayor Mayor Lowe,
I'll abstain.
Councilmember Garcia,
Aye.
and Councilmember Parkhurst. Councilmember Parkhurst, are you still on the line?
Were you able to get my vote?
I did not. Are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Okay, and your vote, sir?
No.
All right, I have 3 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, so we now will be closing this special meeting tonight, open session, and we will be moving towards a closed session special meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Congratulations to our new candidates, or our now new council members. Can you please tell them when that date will be for term change?
Madam Mayor, the election, this will happen after the election, and it would happen as if they had been elected in November. And so the certification and canvass of the election would still happen at the first meeting in November, and then the swearing in would be at the first meeting in November, and then the reorganization meeting would be at the special meeting on December 15th.
December 15th. All right, thank you. And is there, let me open this also up for items on future agenda items. We do have a regular council meeting next Tuesday, August 25th at 5:30 p.m. We are adjourned.
Mayor, before we go into closed session,
I'm sorry.
is there a public comment for the closed session item before we go into closed session?
I'd like to now open up the closed session special meeting at 6:07 PM. Are there any public comment for the closed session? Seeing there's none, we'll move to closed session. Oh,
And for folks who are here, we do this actually before every closed session, even if there's no one in the audience. This is the first time I've ever had actual possible public comment.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight.